Hello TWU students, it's Chris here. This short video will take you through the instructions that you need to follow to write your own instructions for the first assessment in Technical Writing for University. Instructions are a common part of technical writing, both at university and in the workplace. As students, you'll need to follow instructions to complete assessments. As employees, you may need to read instructions to complete certain tasks. Supervisors have to write instructions and procedures for other staff to follow. And customers often read instructions to learn how to use products, and I'm sure we've all had bad experiences trying to follow bad instructions, putting furniture together and so on. So assessment 1 needs to be between 500 and 600 words in length in total. So that's from the introduction and through all of the sections of the assessment. Now you should choose a task that has several steps to it. So it shouldn't be a one-step process. It should have several parts to it that you can then write about. It should be a task that's familiar to you, so you shouldn't have to look anything up. You should know the terminology and the process and be aware of any kinds of pitfalls that inexperienced users might fall into. It should be a task that's low risk, so it shouldn't involve guns, knives, motorbikes, electricity, those kinds of things. And it should have an appropriate level of difficulty. So not too difficult, but not so simple that anyone can do it or already knows how to do it. It should be something that's some people may not be familiar with. And ideally, it should be something that can be completed in about 10 minutes and use readily available materials. Now you must seek approval for your task, and to do that you can post a brief description on the Assessment 1 Instruction Approval Forum on Moodle. That's just to ensure that the task is appropriate in size and scope and that it is safe. Now, examples of tasks include things like how to play particular games, how to do a karate kick, how to use a hair straightener, how to juggle, how to cast a bait net, how to iron a shirt, anything that you think other people might not know how to do. Now, you should avoid things that already exist, like recipes or programming your DVD player. It should be something that is unique. And the more unique it is, the better for us when we're reading. Now, the purpose of this task is to draw your attention to the importance of considering audience and purpose. And that's a key feature of this course. We'll be delving into that further with the other assessments as well. It's also to develop your ability to write concisely and consistently using a formal and objective tone. So instead of writing don't, write do not. Instead of writing isn't, write is not. Use technical terms where you can that would be understandable to a general audience. Avoid colloquial expressions, those kinds of things. And also the purpose of the task is to develop your ability to incorporate figures. So by that we mean things like diagrams, flowcharts, photographs, etc. Things that help make the writing clear. And there are certain conventions that we have to follow to do that, and we'll be using the Harvard Referencing Guide, the CQ University Harvard Referencing Guide to do that. So your instructions should include a title, an introduction, and the introduction will be made up of several parts, written as one paragraph. So it'll have some background, so what is the task, and you might need to write a definition to do that, and we'll explain how to write definitions in the week 2 topic. You'll also explain why people do it, so what's the purpose of the task. You'll describe how long it should take, where it should be performed, and any cautions or warnings that apply to the whole task. Now, that information will then make up the introduction. Then you'll have a list of materials that are needed, and somewhere in the document you'll need to include at least one figure. Now, many instructions will require more than that, but you'll need a minimum of one. Now, the main part will be the list of steps in chronological order, so they should be numbered and set out accordingly. And where appropriate, you'll need to include any hints, tips, or troubleshooting advice. Okay, so the steps of the instructions themselves, you'll need to use what we call the imperative mood. Now, basically that just means starting your sentences with a verb. So instead of things like the red wire should be connected to the blue wire, say things like connect the red wire to the blue wire. That's an instruction. It's telling someone to do something. You'll need to make sure that you phrase each step clearly and concisely, and that is quite challenging. And provide feedback that informs the reader what will happen after they complete certain steps. So if there's something important that they need to know, so once you've connected the red wire to the blue wire, you will see this. So that information can follow the instruction itself and be feedback as to what the reader should see. You'll include any warnings or cautions before readers encounter problems, so you don't want to just list those at the end of the document. You need to include them where they're relevant. You can, if you want to, break long lists into sections with appropriate subheadings, and that can help with the clarity of the document. And in terms of language, don't remove the articles. Articles are things like and the, and there's further explanation of grammatical terms in the Week 2 topic on Moodle. So instead of things like locate midpoint and draw line, which can be a bit confusing, you would say locate the midpoint and draw a line, and that's a bit clearer. Similarly with pronouns, things like he, she, it, they. The one in the example here, the word it has been removed, so make sure you include those things. They help make the instructions clear. Now, in terms of assessment criteria, we're going to be looking at three main areas: content, style, and organisation. In terms of content, we're looking to see that the instructions are complete. So is someone able to follow your instructions from beginning to end without getting confused along the way? Have you included all the necessary information? And is there sufficient supporting information? And by supporting information, we mean things like background, figures, they're appropriate, the warnings are right and sufficient, and so on. In terms of style, we're looking at grammar and punctuation and making sure that they're appropriate, the text is appropriate for the audience and that it's consistent and correct. And that's something that you can do with proofreading, go through and make sure that it flows really well. And we're looking to see that the instructions are clear and concise without being too simple or too complex. So by being too simple, you might miss some information, but by being too complex, readers just get confused. So we're looking to see that you've found that nice middle ground. In terms of organisation, we're looking to see that it's sequenced in a logical order and that it's formatted appropriately. So enough white space, right size fonts and headings and so on, so that it's set out well. Okay, so time to plan. So submit your approval request via Moodle by Week 2 and you'll get a reply saying yes, go ahead, or maybe you need to think about this, or please don't use guns, or whatever it is, and maybe you need to rethink your task. Now, failing to plan is planning to fail. There is a worksheet that you can use to plan your task in the Week 2 topic on Moodle. Make sure that you incorporate figures into your instructions, and we'll talk more about how to do that in the Week 3 topic on Moodle. And in Week 3, you'll get to have some fun and get someone to test your instructions. So basically that involves giving them your instructions, you sit back and watch, and they go for it, and you don't intervene, and at the end they give you some feedback. There's a worksheet for them to fill out to let you know how it goes. You can get other students to do this, or if you have someone at home or a friend that you might want to give your instructions to, you can do that. And finally, have fun. This is a fun task, so but we are doing some serious things in terms of formatting and writing the document, but have some fun, and we look forward to reading your instructions soon. All right, all the best.